Good morning from Disturbia. It is the 25th of January. It's 6:15, real time in the morning. It's just fascinating to me how the forces that should not be are constantly controlling what we see. And then telling us stories about it so that we believe their explanations for this crazy tyranny that they're forcing upon us. Notice the film of white haze in front of the moon. The prophet Isaiah said in that day, the sun will shine 7 times brighter and the moon will shine like the sun, and the forces that should not be want to make sure that we see the moon always very big and very shiny. You notice this black that they go back and forth in front of the moon. They do the same thing with the sun. It's almost like they're polishing it. Go back and forth, and then they'll remove it, and then it will be glowing. And then when it loses its glow, they go back again. You see? It's like a curtain. Now you see it, now you don't. Oh, I've been listening to the radio the last couple mornings, and lots of turmoil here in Disturbia. We've got demonstrations, farmers demonstrating, the left demonstrating against the right. Just now I heard a blurb about how democracy needs to ensure that right radicalism does not become the new normal. They're attacking what they're calling the identity movement. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Probably German nationalism. There's nothing wrong with that. God made a wealth of diversity, but he made them male and female, and he wants everyone to mate after their kind with no mixing. And this is exactly what the forces that should not be want to eliminate, which they call equality. Everything's equal. There's no male, there's no female. There's no sun, there's no moon. There's no summer, winter, spring, or fall. It's all the same. All hovering around, I don't know what the average would be, maybe 15 degrees or something like that. You can see these glowing clouds. We had a couple of days of cold weather. It varied. We had snow, and then it thawed. Then we had ice. And then we had real cold, -11, which is normal for Disturbia in the winter time. We've had -11 in February. I remember one year we had 3 weeks -15 in February every single day. During the day and night, the temperature, just because the sun comes out doesn't mean the temperature goes up appreciably. But we're being shown something, told something different. On the one hand, we're supposed to believe that it's normal. On the other hand, we're supposed to believe that we're at fault because of CO2 emissions, aka breathing. Take a look, see how the glow ball is glowing now. It's the moon though. Notice that shine. And you got this black blob in front of it. It'll move back and forth and back and forth. Like I said, they do it with the sun also. Now there's one coming in from the right. It's just perversion. Dispersions of perversions, and mankind just doesn't care. They're using weather as a form of execution, really. Killing us with it. yesterday I went for a walk with my pony, and I looked up at the sky. I couldn't see it readily, but from one vantage point I realized that these clouds that were hovering over me were very, very low. Very low. And then of course there was a gap and then clouds above that. They do not want the fresh air to come in from above. They want us breathing in their gas and telling us that it's greenhouse emissions, which is a load of baloney. I read or heard just the other day that German troops are now in Lithuania. A contract has been renewed with Mediterranean countries. I'm not sure which ones right off the top of my head, but you see they're forming in order to foment war. Yesterday I saw some pictures of tanks going down the street, and with a caption whether or not the German military wasn't going to start doing exercises soon here for all to see. A couple of years during Corona, during the time of the so-called lockdowns, look at this, you can see this white blob here. Now they're covering up the moon. They want that white blob to go over in front of the moon so that it looks bigger and brighter than what it really is. Look, now it's down at the bottom, and they move it all around. It's like they've got a spotlight on the moon. Anyway, the Americans came over, and they were doing exercises at night, maneuvers. And these are all so-called secret. I mean, they're official secrets. They've been externalized, but they're not really talked about. So if you happen to find the information, then you know, and if you don't, then you don't know. So that's why it's always good to just keep your eyes out for what's going on so that you're not surprised. That's all, really. Peter said men's hearts were going to fail them for fear, and we do not want to be afraid because fear brings torment, and that's exactly what Satan wants. He wants us to be tormented with fear. I was, just when I heard on the radio yesterday, they were talking about abortion. Of course, this is the centerpiece of their religion, is sacrifice of infant boys. Just like it was under Pharaoh, just like Herod did, sacrificing infant boys. That's why they always have the spotlight on girls, because they don't want you to realize that it's really boys that they're after. And they were saying that outside of abortion clinics, women are being harassed. And if you, in future, harass somebody who's going in for abortion, then you're going to be, I can't remember what they said, 5,000 euros. You're going to get a penalty and maybe put in jail. These poor women, they're going in to slaughter their babies. To be honest, I get the impression that a lot of that picketing is done by the left, just to demonstrate, literally, how stupid the right is, even though it's the left that is doing it. I'm not sure, I can't prove it. But, the news that they sell regarding right-wing extremists, I believe, is just often a production of theater put on by the left. People that believe in God are made to look like, backcountry hicks. What did Obama say? These Christians with their Bibles and their guns. And of course, Pete Peters back in the day, they made a movie about him, ostensibly it was about him, allegedly, about a right-wing radical who is, I can't even remember the name of the movie, but I'm sure that he was one of them now. I didn't know that then. Because, I mean, when you really come up against these people, they're going to eradicate you one way or another. They're not going to play around with you and, you know, make movies about you. And, well, I mean, he did disappear, but did he really? I don't know. That is just enshrouded, that whole movement, to me, is just enshrouded in mystery. His wife disappeared, he disappeared, his son died. His son did really die with 33 years old. I found some litigation on the internet. It's there for anybody to read. Pete Peters went up against his daughter-in-law because he wanted the land that he had given to his son, and he and his wife, his son's wife, owned it. And Pete Peters said, no, that can't be because my son and my daughter-in-law were not really married. Well, Pete Peters married him because he said, you don't need it. This is a lawful marriage in the eyes of God. But then Pete Peters said, oh no, it's not a lawful marriage. Give me that land back. Well, Pete Peters lost. I was really stunned when I read that. You know, nobody wants to be deceived. But the nature of a deceiver is often there's a kind of a sweetness about them or softness about them. They're friendly, they're amenable, and you don't want to believe that these kind of people are deceiving you. You can't believe it. It just is too hard to believe. And that's what a deceiver does. How else would Adam and Eve have fallen for what the serpent had sold them? It's all a soft sell job. And I'm dealing with somebody at work who, I'm not really dealing with her, but she's been there for about a year, and oh my goodness, nice as can be. And then I thought, you know, careful. You don't know. That is the nature of deception. You know? And that is why we have to be gentle as doves, but wise as serpents in this time. I see that I'm losing focus. I guess that doesn't matter. I mentioned this case of Shanda, Shanda, Vander, who, together with her son Paul Ferguson, shackled her youngest son Timothy, 15, for over a year, or going on a year, in a room in their basement, had monitors on him, cameras on him, starved him to death. He died of dehydration, starvation, and he froze to death, more or less, because they put him in ice baths. Well, she got her sentence read on the 24th, yesterday, which seems to have been an occult day, because I noticed at the barn that there were hardly any people there. And you have to ask yourself, if people who are normally there every day, hanging around smoking cigarettes, if they're suddenly gone, where are they? I've noticed this for the last couple of years. You go to the store, nobody's there. Where are they? Next day, everybody's there. The day before, lots of cars. So, you know, these are the ways that you can figure out what is an occult day and what not. And yesterday was also quite warm. 12 degrees here in Disturbia. Anyway, she got her sentence read, and the judge said, I wanted to believe the woman did not intentionally kill her son. But because I didn't want to acknowledge the depth of evil that was taking place. And he said, indeed, maybe she did not want to kill him because she was enjoying torturing him so much. Now who is she going to torture? And anyway, she got life in prison, but she can appeal. This is something that I don't understand. But evidently that's just part of the law in case they made a mistake. And she's got a defense lawyer who is cunning He's another one. Oh, you know, I'm just a bumbling old, I can't think straight. I'm scatterbrained type of person. And these are the ones that you really want to look out for because you think they wouldn't hurt a soul. They wouldn't hurt a flea. Are you kidding? You've got to be really, really careful. I shouldn't lecture people, but, you know, I see it in myself, this kind of, you know, wait a minute, what's going on here? He seems like such a nice guy. Here's the moon, and here's the glow. You see it? Now they're going to move that glow onto here. It's just crazy what they're doing. I hate it. I'm sick of it, but what can you do? Anyhow, so that's Shanda's case, but her case was a lot like Dylan Groves of Ohio. This happened a couple years ago. His mother was a drug addict. His father was a drug addict. This little baby infant was unwanted. But for some reason, when he, as a newborn, more or less was given to a foster mother who was a very wonderful woman to all intents and purposes. We don't know, because we don't know her, but she seemed like she was a foster mother and she had parented a child years before who was an adult. She had a partner, etc. She took in this infant, Dylan Groves, at I don't know how old he was, maybe 10 days old, something like that. And she had him for 12 days. And the father wanted the boy back. And the stipulation was the father could have the boy if he kept him away from the mother. Well, I mean, this was a codependent couple, obviously. So he did not keep him away from the mother. He took him straight to the boy's mother. The boy's mother did not even want him. Why they took him away from the foster mother is beyond me. I don't understand it. And the foster mother, when she took the stand, she did cry. She was really worked up. I don't know if this is fake. I have no idea. I think these are real cases just because of what is all involved and the contingent questioning of firemen and so on and so forth. But who knows? Anyhow, long story short, the father of this unwanted baby, Dylan, took the urine from his other son, who they loved, who was 12 or 14 years old, I can't remember. And I think he was something like 14. And the boy had given his father his own urine so that the father could take it to Children's Protective Services and have a clean examination so that he could get his infant baby back so that they could kill him. And what they did with Dylan was they dropped him on his head. They dropped him a couple times. The father said he did not do it. His wife did, and he was not cognizant, which could very well be. They were both drug addicts. They were taking heroin and God knows what. And the nurses at the hospital said that he was dope sick, and the mother was dope sick, and neither one of them cared about the baby. So they took him away from the foster mother after 12 days. And of course, she was just shattered. She was shattered by the incident. And dropped him, God knows how many times. And then when he was dead, put him in a milk crate, weighted it down so it weighed 80 pounds, and put him down a well, 30 feet. Well, the Children's Protective Services finally got the idea that maybe it wasn't such a smart thing to have given the boy back to his mother and father who did not want him, and having taken him from the foster mother who wanted him, who loved him, quite obviously. She took pictures of him, and I thought it was really touching when she gave the baby boy, Dylan, back to his father who didn't want him. She gave him pictures of the baby and also Bible. Anyhow, yeah, so baby Dylan died. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, why couldn't they let that baby live? Why couldn't they let him live? No, she couldn't have it. The mother that didn't want that baby could not have him living. She killed him. And just like the case of Shanda vander. She killed Timothy. And there are wicked people in the world. And they will deny that they're lying. They will tell you. I had a friend back in the day. As soon as he opened his mouth, he was lying. And I know several people like that still. Sorry, I cannot get a focus on this camera. I know several people like that still. You've got to be very, very... You don't want to believe it. This is the thing about deception. And this is what the devil rides on. You just play kind of a bumbling, scatterbrained twat. Just good-natured as all get out with a little humor. And, you're just not... You're kind of unsure. And people will eat it up. And they cannot fathom that they're being deceived. So if you get this impression, just ask questions. That's what I've started doing at work too. Asking questions. And they're not going to leave you alone, of course, because they are legion and you're alone. That's the nature of Mystery Babylon. Anybody who tells the truth is alone. Because it's hard to move in packs. People tell the truth because where 2 or 3 are gathered together, most likely there's a deceiver in your midst. That's how it looks. That's the looks of things. So I'm at 21 minutes and this thing is going to cut off. Salvation in Messiah. We're living in the Tower of Babel. Take 2, descent into hell. And there's only salvation through Messiah. He's our only hope. Amen.